Armored Core lore, Hari. While showing up very little in the game, he does have some history worth exploring. And today I plan to do this with the help from a fellow AC historian. But first, allow me to take you through what we know about Hari in Armored Core for Answer. In the Lynx War, Hari is seen as a Kalad Lynx, ranked number 10 among their numbers. He is not seen on any mission, and in-game, while Hari is never named, it's a conversation between Julius and Malzul that suggests Hari was the one that attacked an Arteria Carpol, leading to Malzul to say he let him off his leash too early. For you see, Hari was never meant to die off-screen, nor was he meant to have no dialogue. Cut lines from the game files reveal his likely encounter with Strayed on the mission Attack Anti-Satellite Cannons, where instead of the 00 Aretha being controlled by some voiceless AI or pilot, it was more likely to be Hari. He apologizes to Strayed for Orca's drastic measures in bringing down the cradles, and mentions the lack of any alternative. In the end, he is defeated by Strayed, and expresses great regret that he will never likely see the outer rim of space before his death. A truly tragic end for Hari, made worse when you understand his story. This is all we have from the game. It's another story that allows us a deeper look into Hari as a person. And for that, I hand you over to my guest today. Saint, if you would please.
Hello everyone. Now, you may know me as Saint Andrew. I've been a longtime fan of ACL, and that's never going to change. Many of you may know me as that name on Discord. Some of you know me as Andrew Rodgers on YouTube. But that doesn't matter. We're here for the story of Hari. So alas, let's get right to that. Prior to the release of Armored Core for Answer, Dengeki Hobby, a Japanese gaming magazine, released a short story detailing Hari's life. Now, I'm not going to read through the whole story, but I will at least give some details. Page 1 is as follows. Back when I was a child, birds still flew the sky and fish swam the sea. But now times have changed. The air is scorched, the earth is rust-colored. Human activity brought this planet to the brink of death. All of it, the destruction, the decay, was caused by the corporations. And even now, under their rule, the sky garden cities float above the world. As for me, I'm unlike the people living up there. I'm a mercenary who survives on the ground below. My body is worn out, my spirit wrung dry like an old rag, a man pierced by bullets of lead living among the ruins. Now, the story itself is about Hari being contacted on a mission to destroy a prototype of the Spirit of Motherwill, which in this story, instead of being controlled by a large number of expendable soldiers, it's instead controlled by an AI. Rather interesting design decision, I'll say that much. Now, the battle goes about the same as the actual player's encounter with the actual Motherwill, but with an interesting twist. That being Union Jack Tommy, Hari's wingman and the pilot of a yellow Tellus frame called System 6. Now, the two of them clearly share a friendship with each other. Unfortunately, we don't know many details about it, but does have some rather hilarious banter. From Jack not only overdosing on combat enhancers, making him hysterical, but also dancing in his cockpit and playing rock and roll music. Even uploading it to Hari's AMS, much to his annoyance. Now, as time progressed with them fighting the prototype Motherwill, they eventually encounter the core AI controlling the metal behemoth, only for it to suddenly shut down. But why? Well, before the two of them could actually wonder that, they spotted two necks fighting each other. An unknown blue Azor Rosenthal AC, and the one and only White Glint. Now, I'm going to take a quick side note here and just bring this up. The blue Azor Rosenthal AC in question is a reference to the Sephiroth Force, which is briefly brought up by Michael F. in Armored Core 4. Just a small little reference. Nonetheless, the two of them eventually engage, with Tommy Union Jack engaging the White Glint, while Hari fights the blue Azur AC. Unfortunately, while Hari does do fairly well against the blue AC, Tommy does, as predicted, not very well against White Glint. Now, due to Hari's limited fighting capacity, he's ultimately forced to retreat and save Tommy from the burning wreckage of the Spirit of Motherwill, while both the White Glint and the Rosenthal AC make a retreat. Now, ultimately, both of them regret failing their mission, but they do survive to fight another day, and they return to an old seaside town that ultimately has enough infrastructure for them to survive. From there, they meet Hari's operator Violet, who's described as being foul, but beautiful, and whose perfume, hilariously enough, irritates Hari's nose. Honestly, sounds like an early Kasumi if you ask me. Nonetheless, at the very end of the story, Tommy bids Hari farewell, and that one day he will repay his debt for saving his life. Now, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a conclusion to this story. So, unfortunately, this story is not very well known, and also, a lot of content for Hari was cut, as mentioned earlier in this video. It's really unfortunate that this content was cut, and I'm going to go into the detail why. For one, it really does go to show just how tragic and unforgiving the world of Armored Core really is. Hari starts out as a battle-hardened, ultimately dreary mercenary living on the ground below, having a wingman who is very optimistic, enjoys combat, and is ultimately a lot more uplifting compared to Hari's dreary and more somber personality, and the two of them bounce off each other really well for the limited amount of time they actually have in this story. Unfortunately, Union Jack is not seen in the main game. However, the idea of Hari, a battle-hardened, battle-ridden mercenary, who had an optimistic, cheerful pilot who actually cheered him up as his wingman, who ultimately dies in combat, with Hari eventually joining Orca with the sole purpose of bringing more hope into his life, the hope that he once lost, and eventually sacrificing himself fighting Strayed for the hope of saving humanity, and even himself going to space, not knowing that Orca was ultimately a lie and a false flag created by Omer, would be the type of perfect, tragic, absolutely theme-nailing story that would have perfectly sold in the world of Armored Core 4 Answer. Ultimately, it's a real tragedy that instead of Hari having this complete, heart-wrenching story, it was ultimately cut from the game, and his backstory not very well known, because quite honestly, with only a couple tweaks, with some dialogue it actually brought into the game, and with an actual encounter with Hari, possibly piloting the 00 Aretha as a final act of sacrifice in order to save the world, would have been a truly heart-wrenching and gripping story, and probably would have made Hari one of the best characters in the world of Armored Core.